Well, welcome to Broadcast Show Live. It's very cold outside, but it's warming up in here in the studio. We have a packed show lined up for you today, so stay tuned. It's nice to be back in the familiar surroundings, although this is the first studio show to be shown within our brand new website. You can view literally hundreds of interviews and reviews and features on this new site. So after the show, make sure you go and have a look around. The last few months have been somewhat busy. During IBC, we were streaming live shows each day from the exhibition floor, as well as recording, of course, over 70 interviews on exhibitor stands. As you may know, these go up on our YouTube channel, which is TV Bay Broadcast Show, and most viewed clip will win a prize. Well, we'll be revealing, he says, trying to say the word revealing, the winner later in the show. We use the winner's technologies, and with the latest news from IBC, we can see why you have viewed this clip the most. We've also taken the show on tour again. Earlier this year in May, we took a travelling roadshow of exhibitors, seminars around the country, and last month we travelled, of course, to Belfast, our first time in Ireland, Leeds, and the wonderful Pinewood Studios. Let's just take a quick look at the highlights.
Absolutely brilliant fun. It's raining outside, and my next stop, the next stop for the whole tour, is in Leeds, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I thought the event was excellent. I think we should have more events like this.
Yeah, everyone's been just like, go on, hands on, go get the cameras out there. Do you want to use the light? Come back, use the light. It's fantastic. They're all really open, let you just touch everything and get to use it and experience it for yourself.
So that was October, and we're now looking forward to May 2014, where we will once again embark on a marathon 5-city tour in 2 weeks. We will be covering London, Glasgow, and of course, for you guys in Scotland, it's your Commonwealth Games year, so it'd be great to come up and see you. Media City, wouldn't be right to go anywhere else in Manchester other than, of course, Media City. And by popular demand, we will be visiting Birmingham. Finally, of course, finishing in Bristol. We'll have more news on this tour later in the show. Also on this show, we have, of course, Selwyn, who is a great friend of Broadcast Show, and he'll be talking about the latest possibilities and trends in satellite communications, as well as telling us all about the broadcast wedding industry. That's right, you heard it here first, the broadcast wedding industry. So you want to hear more about that? stick around. We'll also be launching our job spot on the show. So if you are looking for a change in scenery and have an opportunity or a vacancy to fill, then tweet it in, please, to @BroadcastShow, and we'll give it a little bit of a plug on the show for you. First up, though, we are talking cloud editing and much more, I expect. So I'd like to welcome Greg Hirst and Stephen Streater from Forbidden Technologies. Hiya, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
It's been a little while since we've done a broadcast show live, so thank you very much for coming on. For a start, give us a little bit of an overview of Forbidden Technologies, and then we'll go a little bit more into detail onto what it is that you guys do.
Okay, so I'll start with Forbidden Technologies.
Yep.
So we set up back in 2000 to make the ultimate platform for the web, for video.
Yep.
And that's gone through a few technological advances. But in 2004, we launched Foreseen, which is our post-production tool. It's used by broadcast and in sports. It's really used for professional post-production. And that's used by television. It's used a lot for reality television and say for sports. Has quite a few technical features, and we'll be going into some of those later. But editing is one of the key functions that it has.
Right, so this is a cloud-based solution. Now, for those who are sort of, let's say, a little bit of older school, shall we think, the thought of editing video in the cloud is kind of in the cuckoo land, because this is a web browser, isn't it? I mean, how can you edit video in the cloud? Give us sort of an idea roughly how this sort of system works.
I mean, it's a good point, but I think it was more relevant when we launched in 2004, which is a couple of years before YouTube came out, and people were saying, you know, what's all this video in the internet? But nowadays, you see video all the time. High definition video is standard. People are moving up their resolutions very easily on the internet. And the technology has advanced enormously. So just to put it in context, when we started Forbidden, we had a 20 kilobit connection on our modem. And now we have a 20 gigabit connection, which we're very grateful to Google to provide us free 20 gigabit connection. But it's 1,000,000 times faster. And that just gives you the idea of the pace of technology. Now, broadcast is moving much more to IT technology base, the pace of technology. So whereas, you know, 10 years ago, it was, you know, a bit radical and revolutionary, in fact, suitable for a company called Forbidden Technologies. Nowadays, the technology is making things a lot simpler. So you now start to see the benefits of the cloud without the previous issues with slow internet connectivity and devices that weren't really capable of running in browsers.
So you have this full-featured system that allows us to edit video on the cloud. Are we talking more than sort of simple cuts and a little bit of audio tweaking? What sort of thing can we do on this system?
Well, I mean, just to put it a bit in context, technologically, there is no limit to what we could do if customers wanted it. So we've been looking at it slightly from, you know, what the market's ready for. And the technology supports, you know, multiple video tracks, multiple audio tracks, transitions, color correction, audio levels, titles, all the sort of things you would find in a normal editing system. But the typical users of our system are not ready for, you know, like the full top-end Avid equivalent. They're just not ready for it, but it's not a technological limit. So what people use it for, they do, I mean, the biggest, probably editing, highest profile editing use was probably for the Summer Olympics, where YouTube licensed Foreseen for all their highlights. So NBC broadcast all their highlights, all made at HD, all edited in Foreseen. And then they had the advantages of the cloud that they didn't have to ship, you know, 40 or 50 editors to London for their internet videos. They could do it all from New York. And they included the transitions and the color correction and slow-mo and all the things you'd find in a normal editing system. But in sport, of course, the turnaround is often quite fast. So, you know, they don't go around to changing the color of a rose, but leaving the you know, the tulip the same color. That sort of feature isn't that relevant for sport. So when we say we're fully featured, we're sort of fit for purpose. So we don't support the, you know, reverb of St. Paul's Cathedral in the audio. You have to get the reverb right when you record it, or do that in another tool. But you can have multiple audio tracks, and you can crossfade and set the audio levels and stereo positions. And obviously it's all frame accurate editing.
So, as you say, used in the Olympics for highlights and things like that. Obviously, Olympics is shot full HD. So, is it working on the fact that nowadays we have a lot faster upload speed than what we did, let's say, 5 years ago by a long way? Are people uploading full HD and editing full HD on this?
You can do that, but it's not a very sensible workflow. So what people normally do is they have the full HD available. So if we go back to broadcast post, they'll put their full HD and say they're Avid, and it will go onto their ISIS. The Avid generates an MXF, which is proxy quality, say 15 to 1, 10 to 1, and then that gets automatically sucked into full scene. So everything that goes in the Avid ends up as proxy in full scene, and that upload can be live. It typically is live. We can do multiple channels. For the Olympics, for example, we had 200 channels, live channels coming in at a time. So now you've got all the proxy in full scene, which you can then access from any PC or Mac anywhere in the world. And one of the advantages of a cloud solution is you don't need to install the software on your local machine. So every machine and every PC, every Mac is a full scene system. So it's very accessible. And then you work on the proxy quality. So in broadcast post, we're typically used for review and logging, rough cut editing, samples. And after the rough cut, you export an AAF and go to Avid for finishing. But that's really, I mean, we were saying we wouldn't mention the word workflow, but that's just the way that broadcast workflows work, where a rough cut's enough. So that will be used by obviously the loggers, but also the producers and directors. And that part of the workflow, not only do you end up with a frame accurate rough cut, but you also have a whole search engine. You have all the metadata from the logging describing all the scenes, exactly what was said, what's where, so that when you're in the edit and you need to find shots, it's like a Google search engine sort of dedicated to your particular program or your particular series.
Right, so it sort of comes into its own, especially when you've got an awful lot of content coming in, like you said you did have at the Olympics. So you can have a team of editors sat in the US, for example, and these guys can be rough cutting everything, logging everything, and then let's say your high-end editor who's going to do the final output can be sat anywhere, I suppose, but probably at where it was originally shot, say in the UK, he can just take this down and on his timeline there everything is for him.
Yeah, so for the Olympics, actually, they did the fine cut in full scene and they finished. And although we can take the proxy in for the editing, when you publish, it can go back to the original source because it keeps track of all the original source material. So, I mean, if you look at another use case, say news, you might shoot an hour of material, all at HD, but you only need 2 minutes for your news story, 1 minute of which might be an interview, the presenter, and a minute would be footage. So there's no real sense in uploading the whole hour of full HD. So what you would do is you would edit in full scene, which you could do either as the news person locally, or you could edit centrally and add library footage. But when you publish, it knows exactly which frames you've used in your final program. So it only has to upload at HD the 1 minute out of the hour. And of course, that's 60 times faster.
Yeah, of course.
So although you can upload everything at HD, the HD is a lot higher data rate. We typically, because of the way the compression technology works, which is one of the aspects that you really need to get sorted to have a proper cloud editing system, we are typically 1 to 2 megabits. I think we average 1.2 megabits per second for the proxy, which is like AVR10 if you're used to an Avid. But when you publish, you can go back to 100 megabits if you want and produce your minute at 100 megabits. So the factor of 60, although it sounds like the HD might be 60 times as much data, you're only uploading a 60th of it. So you can actually upload it.
In the end, you only upload what you need to fulfill that edit that you've done in the cloud.
And that is the typical use case. And you can imagine with these big TV series, where I think we have 2 series with 2,500 hours of source material, and it wouldn't really make sense to upload 2,500 hours of HD when you're actually only going to use 40 hours of that. But it does make sense to have it all available to search through, find the good bits, annotate it, and then when you publish, to upload just the 40-minute programs at HD.
Understood. So you've talked about Avid a lot. Obviously it's a cloud-based solution, but it's integrating with your content that's locally stored in order to be able to get the HD versions up after you've edited. So you have to. Do you have Avid plugins? And for example, does it work with some kind of plugin on systems like Avid?
So we have the big clients. We have an ingest box. That is just a Linux box, and it sits on their network, and it just looks at the Avid watch folders, and everything that arrives on your watch folder just ends up in full scene. So that is in integration, but as a user, you don't really see it. You just plug it together. And then on the publishing side, it's all transparent. So normally in broadcast, we export an AAF, which you then put in your Avid, and it relinks on the Avid to the original high-res material in your Avid. So that would be the typical workflow. So the end-to-end workflows, in a sense where you're actually publishing the full HD, you don't need Avid at all for that,
Right.
Or Final Cut or Adobe. You do everything in full scene. And there your ingest box records the HD on its own local disk as you put your cards in or as you play your tapes in. It's obviously mostly digital now.
Yep.
I mean, we've been tapeless since 2004, so it's quite good that the world's now
caught up with you.
So
Absolutely. So from a user's point of view, they're really just logging into the cloud-based system, and your system behind the scenes is going, all right, I need to take this bit of footage that it's got on its system, upload that. I now need these little bits of HD that you want together, and it uploads that and does it all for you.
Similarly, with frames of photographs, you can have the full resolution photographs available. So when you pan and zoom, you've got the full resolution. One of the things that it's not obvious when you use the system, because obviously you're using a web front end, and you think that's the system. And in a sense, it is quite a lot of the system, but 90% of the development work over the last 10 years has been on the back end, which you don't see. And that's organizing the material so it's responsive. Obviously, we have hundreds of users all at the same time. We have hundreds of feeds coming in all at the same time, and you can be using it all over the world. For the last 5 or 6 years, most of our sales have been in the US, even though we haven't had an office. We'll talk about that. Greg will be talking about that later. You think the front end is the technology, but 90% of the technology is really at the back end. But the front end does do something which is very important, which is it gives you the responsiveness. So you can, I mean, we were asked early on, isn't it like something like VNC, where you log onto a remote computer and you just operate it? Sort of like, you know, you've got sort of controlling some very long arms and operating something a long way away. The trouble with that is you get big latencies because you have to send the instructions and then you do some work somewhere and then you have to send the answers back. And when you're doing something as fluent as editing, you don't really want even like a 1/5 of a second or a 1/10 of a second, because it sort of throws you off because things don't respond. You hit play and it doesn't start immediately. So what we do is we do all the processing in the client, which will be your desktop PC or your Mac, or even a tablet if you want. You run on tablets as well, and mobile phones, but I mean, we're getting a bit out of the broadcast area. So it's generally a PC or a Mac, and it responds immediately. And the latencies that you might have expected when you're accessing a cloud that might be 8,000 miles away, the front end is very clever, and it knows the sort of thing you might want to look at next, and it has speculative calculations. You see a lot of that on processors where they think what instructions they might execute. But we do a similar thing. We download the sort of material you might be looking at next. So obviously, if you're just playing back video, it downloads ahead of time. So that when you stop or start, it's already there. If you come up to a transition, you don't have to wait for that to be rendered on a server. It's rendered on the client, but it's rendered before you get to it. So that as you run through it, it's got the appearance of being rendered in real time, and the same with the color correction and audio levels. And that gives a very fast response. In fact, when we first started off, we were in a BBC trial with Final Cut. It's quite a few years ago now. And the Final Cut editor said that we were more responsive than Final Cut. And it turned out, when we looked into it, that on Final Cut, you had to wait for the disk drive. And in our system, because it runs in a web browser, it doesn't have access to the disks. It just runs in memory. There's no delays for starting, no delays for stopping. When you shuttle through, things just happen much more responsively. So the whole design and the underlying technology is designed to just have everything ready for you when you need it, so you're not waiting. And so, I mean, we'll perhaps get on to some of the misconceptions, but one of the misconceptions about operating on a cloud that's 8,000 miles away is you have to wait for things, but actually you don't have to wait for things because the local client is already prepared for all for all eventualities. Makes it very responsive.
It sounds really impressive. You mentioned something I wanted to pick up on, obviously about multi-users. How does it deal with, can you have multiple people working on the same footage, for example?
Yes, you can. And there's no practical limit. You can have as many people as you like. But there's a sort of, it's getting back to workflows. So if you have 500 cards to log, you generally don't get people logging, I'll do the first 10 seconds, you do the next 10 seconds. You allocate the cards to the different loggers. So you may have 30 or 40 loggers, but they take their own cards and they put them in their own folder when they're working on them to stop other people duplicating the effort. So on these big productions, you do have multiple people working, and the producers and directors will be doing a different sort of work on the material. And on the big productions, we actually have their editors, when in reality TV particularly, they're trying to design the program as it happens. So they don't want to get the rushes back and say, that would have been a really good storyline, what a pity we didn't know. So they can feed back to the production crew and say, this is a good storyline to extend, and they can see that in full scene. But again, they're working not in competition with the loggers, but in parallel, they can look through rushes, look through material, and if it's logged, they can use the search engine. But they work at the same time.
Yep.
In fact, video editing is a very collaborative, or making videos is a very collaborative thing with the editors and the producers and directors and cameramen and all these different people are all doing their own jobs. And so a lot of the sort of the multitasking is all the different people can do their own thing at the same time.
Right.
But even when you do have a shared function like the loggers, they can all log different material. We generally don't have 10 editors working on the same program because it's a creative work.
Sure,
you really want to have one editor. But if you've got a 12-part series, you may have 3 or 4 editors doing some of the programs each. So even there, you can have multiple editors, but they wouldn't be working on the same program, but they could be working on the same series, just to get the time to mark it down.
Very impressive. Greg, I'm going to come to you. Talked about we've talked about multi-users, and obviously this is a cloud-based system, so you don't go to a shop and you don't buy a box off the shelf and install it on your computer. How does it work? What's the model behind this for getting involved?
This, John, is software as a service. So we've actually got the ability to have multiple concurrent users on a particular account, as Stephen was saying, and we're charging by the amount of use. We're basically charging for what we have to pay for. Right. So if you come onto our system and you are editing or reviewing or logging, whatever you might be doing, you're consuming CPU time on our basic cloud service, and we're going to charge you for being on. We're going to look at how long you're on. Typically, we do it monthly for productions. You know, we say how many of you have been on in the month at the same time, so concurrent users. And we also look at how much storage you've consumed. So our edit proxy isn't very big, but when you start getting up to 2,500 hours of material, it's a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
So we'll say, okay, we're going to charge you per 100 running hours, and make a charge for that per month. And then if you start to take things out of the system, so if you start to publish at HD or at SD and push it off to the sort of thing we're doing here, where we're streaming, then we'll charge you for per hour that's going out.
Right.
Pretty simple algorithm, designed to fit into a production manager's budget. They can all understand it. They'll understand how it's working and why. And we give them the tools. So if you're halfway through the month and you say, well, how many of us have been on? You can see. You can see how many are there.
Right. So as opposed to saying, I want to buy licenses for 20 people, and then for 50% of the year, you only ever have 5 or 6 people using it. This model works in a way that is flexible for the amount of people. So
it does that, and it also has another advantage in that you know who did what. Right. One of the problems with having common logons, let's say, if we'd gone that route, if we'd said we're going to charge you per user you have on the system, actually licensed username, the problem is then you don't know who's done what. So if something should go wrong, or if you want to monitor how productive people are being, dare I say, Big Brother style almost, you can see that sort of thing as a production manager. And also if there should be a security breach, heaven forbid, if someone's downloaded something they shouldn't, or just not being as productive as they should be, you can see that at the same time.
Got you. So now we spoke at IBC.
We did.
And it's a couple of months down the line now. But good to get up to date with a little bit of a catch-up, what's happening with you guys since IBC?
Well, it's been a very interesting run. I mean, if I look back at IBC, we were something under 100 productions, Stephen, weren't we, at that stage, running in the UK at the same time. We're now comfortably over 100 concurrent productions in the UK, so we're getting to really big scale now. That plus 60-odd TV stations in the US, we're running big. We've also just announced, as of Monday, I think it was, that we've appointed a general manager in the US. So we're now getting serious about getting to Los Angeles, providing support not just to the UK independent production companies that might be working there, but also to the other guys on the ground there who we know are doing a lot of unscripted television and who could use this service. So I'm busy building a team in the US. I'll have 3 or 4 people really quite quickly from here. We're appointing some new distributors. We've got one in Madrid, AVcast, that we're working with quite actively, and a guy in Tennessee, Richie Murray at Bridge has been working with us as well, and I've got people over there with him. So active time, lot going on. Pleased to say the business is expanding.
Excellent. Now, we're coming to a close shortly, but if people are interested in the system and wanting to find out more on how it works, and they want to get into it, and they think, let's just try this out, they don't want to go in for a massive, great, big, full-on implementation. Is this is it a modular-based approach to this? Can you go small and expand? Does it expand with you? How's it
absolutely. I mean, you can go in and you can sign in for a trial account on the website for a start. You could just go take a look. But you'd be using somebody else's material.
Sure.
And, we'd have stuff that was rights clear that we could use, give to you to use to do some edits. The simplest way is to get in touch with us through the website. And organize to get some ingest software on your own premises, upload some stuff and get started. You can start really small. Right. You could be down at one concurrent user and literally give it a try.
It's worth mentioning, because we're in the cloud, we have a chat system. So if you've got any questions, you can just ask, and there'll be someone there who can tell you. Don't spend ages trying to work out how to do that, because this is the button to do it. And we have a whole range of tutorials. We have about 50 tutorial videos on our YouTube channel that cover all aspects of the system.
Right.
So that is a really good way to get started as well. So it's not like you just sit down there with some installed software and you don't know what to do.
Yeah, sure.
You can just ask, you can look at the videos. It's a whole integrated support system.
And you mentioned this Linux ingest box. Is this required to start up with?
It's not required. It depends how much material you want to upload.
Sure. Gotcha.
There is a web upload button, which is used for pictures and short videos and audio, which you could upload full HD. But it has a 2 GB limit, so for high res you don't get much. No. But any big production will use an ingest box, or they'll hire it from a facilities house. Right. So that's the alternative. You go to a facilities house and say, "Can you just put this material on for me?"
Understood.
And then they will rent it for you.
Brilliant. So guys, again, if people want to find out a little bit more about this whole amazing system, what's the website they can go to?
So there are two. If you want to find out about Facine itself, you go to facine.co.uk. And if you want to find out about Forbidden and the other pieces of the products that we offer and something about the company, forbidden.co.uk.
Greg, Stephen, thank you very much. It sounds fascinating technology. I might even have to sign up to the trial myself and have a look. Great, guys, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, John.
It is utterly amazing, I have to say. If you want to go online and have a look, go and find their websites. The links will probably be on the pre-record if they haven't already come up. Oh, look at that! There they are. Forbidden.co.uk. Go there. Everything will start from there, and find out everything you need to know about Forbidden Technologies and, of course, Facine. Thank you, guys, for coming on. Now, I mentioned at the start of the show that during IBC we recorded over 70 stand interviews, all of which you can see on the event page of BroadcastShow.com. Now, to be as independent as we can and to show no favoritism, we log all the YouTube views over a period and then award the winning clip, the most viewed interview of IBC 2013. Let's take a look through at the top 10 rundown. So here we go. Coming in at number 10, we had High Vision, and they're talking about an amazing streaming system that they have. And followed by Xylite. They were talking about their F8 Fresnel. That was closely followed, he says, by Gearhouse, and we had a look around their amazing OB truck. At number 7 is our friends Cobham, and we looked at their transmitters and, of course, their new micro transmitters, which are truly, utterly amazing. Have a look at those. Next, we had a plethora of Atomos. Number 6, talking about their Ninja 2 recorder. And swiftly followed at number 5 by, you guessed it, Atomos again. And this time we looked at their desk-mounted Ronin recorder. Well, we couldn't keep them down. Number 4 is Atomos, and we looked at the amazing new Samurai Blade HDSDI recorder. However, ahead of Atomos, it was JVC, where we looked at their new HM600 camera, an amazing piece of kit, worth a look at. Just pipped at the post, Blackmagic, and their new ATEM 4K 1ME production system, definitely worth a look at. The winner, of course, Telestream and Wirecast. The new version of Wirecast 5. An absolutely, I've said amazing quite a few times, an absolutely amazing product. Now, we're going to have a look at the winning interview with Wirecast 5, and then later on we'll have an interview with the people themselves, but we'll show that in another show. But in the meantime, this is the winning clip. I'm here at the Telestream stand here at IBC 2013. This is the second of 2 videos that we've done here on this stand. You can find the other one on this page just down there somewhere. Now we're going to be talking to Philippa here about a new version of Wirecast that has just come out. Very exciting news. Everybody gets excited when a new version of Wirecast comes out. Tell us a little bit about Wirecast 5.
So with Wirecast 5, we've done some bigger changes. We've changed the UI, as I think you can see if you use Wirecast in the past. The goal is to improve the shot bin, as you see at the bottom here. We've introduced the possibility to see multiple layers at the same time, to drag and drop between the layers. And I think we've increased the flexibility of that area a lot. The other thing we've done is kind of improve the overall usability. Stream and record is easier to get to and understand the buttons. We've introduced more traditional features such as the switcher mode, where you switch between live and broadcast. So you don't have to go back and select the previous source, and now it's automatically flipping back and forth. The other thing we've introduced, I think, it's a more detailed audio meter, decibel, more like industry standard type of thing. So that's the UI, I think, in big.
So if we have a look at this area of the UI, because this is quite different from the original version or the other versions of Wirecast. Do you want to give us a little overview of how this works?
So one thing that you can see here is what you see here are the different layers, and then you can actually individually rescale them. So for example, this is a title layer, and I might not want to have that big usually. So you can minimize that and make it even smaller. And if you go really small, you actually collapse the layer. So we're trying to be more efficient in our vertical spacing here. The other thing that has changed is that the toolbars that used to be present here are no longer present, and you can actually go to the shot and you get all of those features all directly from the shot. You can also see if there's audio present in the shot nowadays, and you can mute it and kind of see what the audio status is of the individual shot. And then you have the new Add Sources button in the shot bin.
And you can still drag and drop clips into these bins as well if you needed to?
Yes, drag and drop into the bin, drag and drop in between the layers. I'm not going to ruin their demo here that the guys are doing, but yeah, drag and drop in between, drag and drop around, just the same as before. And you also have the possibility to deactivate an entire layer, which was not a good thing to do apparently, but with these buttons over here.
Brilliant. Now, another feature is this, you've updated the shortcut keys, I believe, on this as well.
A little bit. That's not a big, we want to do it even better. I think we see that a lot of people will like to use shortcuts even more with Wirecast to be really fast. The things that we've added are the cut and smooth, so that they are by default as keyboard shortcuts.
So, obviously it's a software upgrade. There's 2 versions of Wirecast. Is it an upgrade for both versions of Standard and Pro?
Studio and Pro. So the UI is included in both those versions. We've also added now support for X264 in both Studio and Pro, and we've also improved the playback greatly inside of Wirecast. The other thing that we've done is we added a new screen capture. So the local screen capture, if you go to sources here. So the new thing here is you can select what type, if you want to capture the monitor, if you want to capture a window. You can capture multiple application windows, and they can be on top of each other, it doesn't matter. You can also capture a game feed directly from within Wirecast, which is new in 5. And we're really excited about that feature.
So I do quite a lot of stuff in the gaming industry, so if you are effectively shoutcasting or something like this on a game feed, you can now pull that game feed directly in from something like a stream game or something like that, running Steam.
We tap into the raw game feed. You don't pull it, you don't capture the screen, you capture the feed directly.
Right.
And then what else? And it's high quality, 60 FPS, HD, it's really good.
Brilliant. So all those gamers out there can now, going out to Twitch and things like that, can now go straight to this and pull in their game feed from COD on the Steam or any Steam game.
Or whatever you're playing, yes.
Excellent. I know a lot of people will be very interested in that.
QA guys are very happy about testing that, I can tell you.
So if people want to get hold of this, what's the process for getting hold of the new upgrade?
So the new upgrade will be available within a couple of weeks and will be available on our website. And you'll also see, if you own Wirecast already, you'll see the in-app upgrade be a paid upgrade option, and you'll get it that way.
Excellent, Philippa. Thank you very much indeed. So if you want to find out more about Wirecast, obviously have a look at their website. I'm going to ask Philippa what the URL is. It is?
www.telestream.net/Wirecast.
Thank you. There you go. It's on screen now. Find out everything you need about the new version of Wirecast 5. Of course, everything that we've been doing here at IBC you'll find on our website, which is BroadcastShow.com. I'm back. That was, of course, Wirecast 5. We are using that here currently. We are streaming out with Wirecast, and we'll have an interview with them that we'll pre-record, or we'll even get them on to the next show. Okay, I'm making a stab in the dark that you might not have heard of the ITTP before. The latest acronym to hit the industry stands for the Institute for Training in Television Production. And we have one of the founding members, Graham Reed, joining us, hopefully via Skype. There he is. Hi, Graham. To tell us about it and a new conference in January next year. Graham, hiya. Thanks for coming on.
Hello. Well, thank you for inviting me. Yes, the conference is in January 27th at Pinewood Studios. We have these lovely, wonderful people called TV Bay who are sponsoring us. Thank you very much. And we're all getting very excited about our first conference, say, in January. Shall I go on?
Yeah. Tell us, first, tell us a little bit. What's the idea behind the ITTP? What's it aimed at doing?
Well, it was started by a group of people like myself who are senior television professionals who are very concerned about what we perceive as the falling standards we see nightly on our television screens, and also by the fact that most of us, or a lot of us, are involved in education and training in the television industry, and how that we feel that a lot of the students who are now leaving universities, having done very often a degree course in TV production, are in fact coming out of college really being unemployable in the television industry. And so the conference, what we are aiming to do is to bring together the training institutions like universities, accreditations, people like the BKSTS, skill set, to discuss how we can actually improve and develop the training that's been delivered in our university and colleges. And hopefully that would be a starting point to improve the quality of the programming we see nightly on our TV screen. Often it's badly framed, badly exposed, poor sound, which for a world-famous, world-renowned broadcasting industry is probably not a very good way to be at the moment. So that's what we hope to achieve by this conference.
Graham, that sounds great. Now this conference we got on the 27th of January. Let's have a little bit more detail about this conference. What are people going to be able to see and do at this conference?
Well, it's an opportunity for people who work in education to network with broadcasters. We have, for example, we have head of cameras of ITTP Studios, the head of cameras from Sky, we have the head of sound from Sky Broadcasting, and we have people from like Tech2, who are an agency who supply very highly qualified engineers in the broadcasting industry, and a host of others really. So it's an opportunity for educational people to network and to talk to these people, to really find out what skills the broadcasters are now require from their new recruits. I mean, for example, we have the Director of Operations from CTV, who are one of the major broadcasters in the UK, and they are having problems recruiting qualified staff when they're looking for engineers, sound, cameras, and those kind of people. So by meeting and talking to these people who run these large companies, educationalists and people who run training organisations can actually really discover what sort of skills they need. I mean, for example, one OB company, Arena Mobiles, who are probably equally as big in the broadcasting industry, he told me that it'd be really useful if the engineers even knew about hydraulics. Now I wonder how many universities who teach engineering skills even think about hydraulics.
Sure.
Well, of course, broadcasting trucks, have an awful lot of hydraulics that lift them, that push the side out, that get them stabilised on OB sites. So even having some knowledge of hydraulics would actually be very helpful. And of course, a lot of people aren't even talk about hydraulics. So that's in terms of the engineering side we are concerned about. I could go on. I mean, one of the things that we're all concerned about is that the artistic side. When you mention all these people at these broadcast shows and all about the new kit, new technology, but so many colleges now don't actually think about art. And a lot of, and we are after working in the visual media. We're talking about pictures. We're creating pictures, and yet a lot of colleges seem to forget that we are actually working with pictures. They seem to think what matters. If you know about MPEG-4, HVC 245, that all really matters. They don't seem to know that we're actually painting with light. We're painting with pictures, and we are creating visual content.
Graham, it sounds fascinating and needed, I suspect, as well. If people are interested in seeing this, who are the people who you really think should be turning up at this event?
The people who we feel should be turning up are those who are actually involved in running training courses at universities, at colleges, all those who are actually very much involved with training in the broadcasting in the media industry. It's not just broadcasting. I mean, now of course, media, broadcasting, it's all a bit of a mishmash of how you actually define. Are we broadcasters? Are we media? What actually are we doing? So I think anybody who's involved with training in the media industry should attend, and I'm sure I know they will find the whole day very worthwhile and very rewarding, and I hope very motivational, because we want people to go away feeling that they've been motivated about how they can develop the things they're being taught, so their students can be highly employable when they leave the courses.
Graham, that sounds great. If people want to find out where they can register to go on this and see this event, is there a website they can go to?
Yes, it's a website. It's www.ittp.co.uk, where you can register and where you can register to come to the conference, and you can read all about the guests. I mean, we have Jeremy Paxman, Matthew Hancock, who's Minister for Skills, who's very passionate about universities now delivering courses which are more skills focused as opposed to academic focused. And hopefully the chairman will be Ros Morris, who's a BBC Radio 4 World at One presenter who would chair the meeting. So there's all sort of really quite high-powered people and senior people at the conference, and by talking with them, networking with them, hearing what they have to say, and having discussions with all the delegates, they will all feel the whole day has been made worthwhile. And of course, the Pinewood Studios, so what could be a better place to come to for a conference if you work in media.
Graham, thank you very much. Skype actually works for us, which is brilliant.
Rather amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it? Graham, once again, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll no doubt be hearing from you and the ITTP much more in the future. Graham, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
So, get yourself registered, and you can again, that is at ittp.co.uk, and the event's on the 27th of January 2014 at the marvellous Pinewood Studios. And if you're involved in any kind of training for the broadcast industry, I suggest you get yourself along. It's an amazing guest list they've got there. Right, moving on. Now, while we are on the theme of events, then if you've ever wanted to see your production on the big screen, and let's just face it, who doesn't? Or wants to win a Blackmagic Cinema Camera, and let's just face it, who doesn't? Then our friend Rick Young's Moving Machine Film Festival next month may be your opportunity. While I go and get myself a drink, take a look at this little short promo.
This is the projection booth of the Prince Charles Cinema in Leicester Square, and this is a monster. I'm sure you can hear how much noise is coming out of this. There's a lot of fans to keep this cool. This is a 2K cinema projector, over 18,000 lumens of light coming through it, And I actually looked it up just to see how much it would be to buy one of these. I couldn't find a price online, but I can tell you it's close to $1,500 US or over £1,000 just to buy the lamp that goes in this projector. So very expensive. Now, at this cinema on December 4th, we're going to be running a digital cinema festival, and we're calling for entries. All you got to do to enter is put a film in between 1 and 5 minutes. And the winner, the absolute winner of the festival, will win this, a Blackmagic Cinema Camera. Not only that, we're putting on a program of guest speakers. We show footage from a lot of different cameras. We're certainly going to be showing footage from the Blackmagic Cinema Camera, Blackmagic Pocket Camera, Sony F3, Sony F5, big sensor Canon cameras. So we're getting as many cameras together so we can see what the footage looks like on the big screen. And we're going to show the results here on the big screen on the night of December 4th at the Prince Charles Cinema in Leicester Square, London. Hi everybody, I'm at the Prince Charles Cinema in Leicester Square, London. Now on the night of December 4th, we're running an event in this cinema. It's a digital cinema festival. Now, if you want to put an entry into the festival, you'll be in the running to win this, a Blackmagic Cinema Camera. This will be given away to the best film that enters. Here's the rules. Make a film between 1 and 5 minutes. You can use any camera, you can have it on any subject, any genre, any style of filmmaking, so long as it runs between 1 and 5 minutes. And like I said, the best entry will receive this, a Blackmagic Cinema Camera, which is a really good prize. And we're going to show the best 10 entries on the big screen on the night of December 4th. Now, beyond that, you don't have to put a film into the cinema festival to attend the event. We're going to have presentations about what you need to know about getting footage on the big screen. And not only that, we're going to have tons of footage from different cameras shown. We're working very hard. I can't guarantee we'll get all these cameras in, but we're doing our best to get footage from Alexa, from Red, from Canon C500, C300, Blackmagic Cinema Camera, Blackmagic Pocket Camera, a whole bunch of cameras out there, FS700 by Sony, F5. We're bringing as much footage together as we can because we want to show you what it looks like on the big screen. It's always been a dream of mine to see the footage I shoot on the big screen and to check it all out. Come along on the night of December 4th and you can see what the cameras that we use, affordable cameras, look like on the big screen, and also a whole bunch of other cameras that might not be so affordable. So Leicester Square, the Prince Charles Cinema, December 4th, right in the heart of London.
Well, if you're interested in making short films, I suggest you get an entry in there. Rick is an excellent guy. He's been on the Broadcast Show Tour with us, and is always worth listening to and getting some advice from. And of course, you could win a camera as well. So we are going to move on a bit, and we're currently streaming through a satellite system, and that's provided by Mr. Selwyn Petterson from Tariam. Hello.
Hi.
Now, Selwyn, we've talked a few times on here,
yes.
And we love your the satellite uplink that we use, and it gets used a lot, and it's robust and reliable. And it uses a dish. Is it 1.2 meters?
No, it's 78 centimeters.
78 centimeters. So that's less than a meter, isn't it? That's less than a meter size. And we've got one here, and as always, you guys are constantly developing your technology and hardware. Yeah. This looks a beauty. You want to tell us a little bit about what we've got here?
Well, what we've done, if I'll just get
come help yourself move around.
And I'll tell you a little bit about it. We've got about 30 or 40 of these in the field now.
Yep.
And we're getting constant feedback from the broadcasters.
Yep.
So what's happening is, one of the first things they said is, oh, taking the arms also a bit difficult.
Sure.
So we've put in a hinge here, the whole thing folds down. It's now 2 parts.
Yep.
It goes into 2 bags. It goes straight into a vehicle, onto an aircraft. Next thing they said was, the material you use, we want to use it in all environments.
Right.
So we've used solid turned aluminium legs.
Yep.
We're using high grade stainless steel, so it can be used in salty environments,
right.
rough weather environments. And with the police and with other the military and large broadcasters, they said it's got to take a good kicking as well.
Yeah.
So we designed it to be very robust. Then they said vertical adjustment. We really want it to be precise. So what we've done, we've made it here so it just tunes into the satellite very easily. Again, stainless steel. The tripod legs fold up, and the whole thing now, the most you can spend on this kit is $3,500.
Right.
So we're actually less than half price of our nearest competitor.
Yeah.
So it makes it very cost effective. And indeed, a lot of our customers say, we only want the tripod.
Yeah.
Or we just want the folding arms
Yeah.
or something like that. So we can actually sell it piecemeal as well to people who've already got equipment. And finally, some people have said, why don't you have carbon fibre dish?
Yes.
Well, the answer is we can, but if you dented one of these, we'd either give you one or it would be no more than £50.
Gotcha. Yeah.
If we go carbon fibre, you've got to add thousands.
Yeah.
And the very last thing, if I can swing it round, on the back, we've removed all the components for mounting it onto poles. So again, we've lost weight, made it simpler, more transportable. That's it.
It's amazing. I mean, considering how far that's moved on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a very short period of time as well.
18 months.
I like this. This is very handy.
Yeah, that's for measuring the degrees to find the satellite for fine tuning.
Yeah. And there's no more. You don't need a spanner and ratchets and things. You can just do fine adjustments on here.
You don't need any.
And it really is. It's and you can do it with your hand very simply.
That's right. You don't need any tools at all. And by the way, from unpacking to be on the satellite, under 10 minutes.
Amazing. Brilliant. And of course, lining this up is easy with the router that comes with it. It comes with audible keys and things, so you know when you're in.
It's simply on a tone. It goes beep, beep, beep. When you've got a solid tone, you're on the satellite.
Amazing.
That's it.
Brilliant. Selwyn, excellent. Let's move on. Now, these are obviously used a lot in the news industry.
Yes.
Now, and people may have heard of the NewsSpotter service. We spoke to it before.
Yeah.
Is that an industry that's growing nowadays?
It's growing tremendously.
Yeah.
There's a big announcement yesterday, or the day before actually, that CIS have signed up to use KA-SAT.
Yep.
It's K8 satellite technology. It's not the KA-SAT itself. So that's a big step forward for the industry. We've got two major broadcasters working with us, probably the largest.
Yep.
And we have about 25 smaller broadcasters working with us. It's mainly for sports, events, it's music, it's gigs, news backhaul, wherever.
Understood.
Yeah.
Now that's using KA. Anything happening with KU?
It is. It's what's happening with KU. It's becoming under pressure because of KA.
Yeah.
If I'm totally honest about it, I'd say that KA is still the majority of choice.
Yep.
It is very robust. It's well proven, but it's also very expensive.
Sure.
And you're typically looking at between £150, £250 per broadcast hour.
Yep.
More expensive equipment.
Yep.
Larger equipment. And it doesn't really suit the IP broadcast industry.
Sure.
We've got a young industry which is growing, and what's happening is that the equipment's got to be affordable.
Yeah.
And this is where KA has really come in.
Yeah.
It's really feeding a new industry.
So, as you say, there's lots of people getting into this now, and it always used to be a pain to book satellite time. You know, phoning on there, is it available between this and this time, and can I use that? Where do I have to point it? And then you phone up, double check, and then there's always that, is it going to work time? So you always add on testing time. You've got a new system for booking NewsSpotter service, I understand.
We have indeed. There's two systems actually. If you have a modem registered as a NewsSpotter modem, it then means that you get two services. One's called Always On.
Yep.
And the other is the booking system for NewsSpotter itself.
Right.
One of the first questions we had from a very large broadcaster, they said for news, it's absolutely vital we can get on within 15 minutes, flash to bang.
Yep.
So if something happens that's newsworthy, vehicle can go out, they can get there, get on air really quickly and book their own time.
Yep.
So we don't have to be there 24 hours a day.
Sure.
So we spent nearly a year developing the back office system so that a user can arrive anywhere in Europe, get onto the satellite with what we call the Always On system, which delivers, I think it's up to about 10 megs down and 4 megs up, contended.
Yep.
And with that, they can use that for voice, web browsing, and booking on.
Gotcha.
So they can self-book. They say the minimum slot is 15 minutes, and for as long as you like.
Yep.
You can also choose the uplink speeds you want from 512K up to 10 meg.
Right.
Uplink, dedicated 1-to-1. And it is that simple now. And that makes it very easy for the news crews.
So great for the fast turnaround. From booking the satellite time, how long does it take until this is active on your dish or modem?
Just minutes.
Right.
We like to see 15 minutes notice.
Yep.
That's
pretty good going.
Minimum.
That's pretty good going to know that you can book time and then it's active within 15 minutes. Now that's the news side. Now this system obviously has massive flexibility in areas that it could be used, and one of them is the film industry, I understand now.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, when we did the tour, we went to Pinewood Studios.
Yeah.
There's a chap there called Chris Brown, who's a reseller of ours, who does a lot of film work.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he's got 6 films, feature films, active at Pinewood using the system.
Wow.
What they're using it for is two main areas, actually. One is locations. Quite often they go to locations, there's no 2G, 3G, there's no 4G. So they really rely on the satellite for voice, for web, for the cast, for the crew. And if they want to, with NewsSpotter, they can backhaul high definition rushes back anywhere in the world. And Perfect Storm in Scotland, another reseller of ours, provided services for that film as well. And it's becoming almost standard now that remote crews, they want cost-effective ability to get onto the internet.
So, I mean, it's unlimited really where you could use this. I mean, anybody who needs an internet connection, or if you, even on a film and you've got your second unit and you want a director to be able to see what you're doing, you can come in and stream live, and the director can see what's going on at that end as well. Yeah. And of course, with the new hardware, it's pretty lightweight as well. Now, I've heard, and I mentioned this earlier, I mean, obviously you've got this system and weddings. Let's talk weddings.
I know,
now,
interesting
it is an interesting one, this, because I've been approached before and they've said, I'm having a wedding and my family's all over the world. Right. They want to be able to see, of course, they're in a small church in the middle of a field in nowhere in Hampshire or something like that. 3G signal's rubbish. This is a possible solution. Well,
it's funny enough, on the broadcast show, which we did with you, it came up twice. Right. It came up in Leeds and it came up in Pinewood. Discussion was, I do photography, I also do some video work, I do a lot of wedding work. Yeah. The budgets for weddings are increasing, and we're being asked occasionally could we do a broadcast live of the wedding so that people around the world who can't attend can see it all live. Perfect. Yeah. So they bought a flyaway kit, they've got their own cameras, they're doing live feed over and then streaming it with one of the streaming providers. Yep. And on the wedding invitations, they're actually putting on the website and people can watch the wedding. And I just think it's a brilliant idea. And I was also thinking that this is a great market opportunity for the shoot and scoot cameraman, freelancer, looking for extra business. What a great industry to look at.
It's amazing. And I don't know why I didn't think of it, actually. Anyway, we're always getting tweeted, and somebody has tweeted, and I'm just going to... So somebody's just asking a question about nomadic terminal options. I'm assuming an option whereby you can move around, basically move around and very quickly get on the internet and things like that.
You can't use it nomadically if you're on the two-way service. If you're on the NewsSpotter service, which we're talking about now, it is nomadic. So what happens, you can actually go from spot to spot to spot yourself. Yep. When you come on, it recognises the spot you're on, whether it's red, green, there's about 5 different colours, I think. Yep. And it's truly nomadic. So you can be anywhere in Europe and log on. Right, so... Yes, because I've noticed this when you set up, it asks you where you are. That's right. And if you're on the NewsSpotter service, you basically have ability to go anywhere, and you just point. The only restrictions to that, if you're operating anywhere where there's license problems, like Ukraine or parts of Russia, where they're sensitive, our license is pan-European. Sure. All of Western Europe can go anywhere. Yep. Modems and things all work on a standard sort of 12 volts. Yep. You could be very portable. And the voltage actually is 220 volt or 30 volt or 24 volts. Oh, 24 volt, okay. It'll run on 24 volts quite happily. Yeah. So you can literally have a small portable kit. Well, we've actually, the VLOC guys, the battery people, are saying 2 batteries in series. Yep. And it's all sorted. Done. Yeah. Excellent. Brilliant. Selwyn, that's great. Now,
if people want to find out more about this, and especially the NewsSpotter service, and they've got Edition, they want to look at upgrading it as well.
No problem.
What's the best website to get you on?
Well, the best way is just get us on tariam.co.uk.
Yep.
And as I said earlier, the components of this equipment can be bought separately.
Yep.
Or they can upgrade.
Yep.
There are auto pointers available as well, and they're kicking in at about 9,000.
Sure.
Up to 15, 16,000
Yep.
for the guys who have got those sort of budgets.
Yep.
But interestingly, it's becoming so fast to set up a manual system now. You really have to ask yourself,
do you need it?
Do I really need it?
Yeah. I mean, I've set this up even without having that system, and you can get up and running in 15 minutes if you've got a good ratchet screwdriver. Now with that, if you've got a rough idea where the satellite is, you're up
well, I'm
very
talking
quickly.
to people who use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Selwyn, as always, a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
And I have to say that I'll be chatting with you about that later. Selwyn, thank you very much.
That's quite all right.
Yeah, we use their systems all the time. If you need to get an internet connection basically anywhere in Europe, you really should be speaking to these guys. The system there looks fantastic. Well, still to come on the show is the new job spot. I'm just going to adjust my mic because I know it's scratching around, so let's sort that out. There we go. Hopefully that's a bit better. So don't forget to tweet any vacancies you have or opportunities you are looking for at Broadcast Show. So that'll be coming up, and in the meantime, we've got, of course, a tour coming up, and we will be hosting another Broadcast Show Tour around the UK, and that's happening in May 2014. And while we get ourselves sorted here, and I'll work out what I'm doing, let's play that promo.
I thought the event was excellent. I think we should have more events like this.
Yeah, everyone's been just like, go on, hands-on, go get the cameras out there. Do you want to use the light? Come back, use the light. It's fantastic. They're all really open, let you just touch everything and get to use it and experience it for yourself.
It's nice to see, really refreshing to see something like this here today.
And the seminars, again, have been really helpful. And there's a good broad mix of everything here.
You're actually seeing lots of manufacturers in one space, and you get the chance to actually talk to people, whereas at the bigger shows you don't always get that.
It's been good value for money as far as our marketing spend is concerned. The visitors have really loved it. I would recommend anybody to come and visit the show.
If you haven't been to a Broadcast Show Tour, you are definitely missing out. They are always worth going for. There's plenty of things to see. You can get hands-on to different new pieces of kit. And of course, we've got decent people to listen to, and you'll learn something as well. Right, here we go. We have a new spot. It is the Broadcast I want an echo. I want a Broadcast Show job spot. This is what we've got coming. We're going to try and do this regularly on the show, and we'll see how we get on. So we are going to ask you to tweet anything you have job-wise. So if you've got a new position or something you're looking to fill, you can tweet to @BroadcastShow. So I'm going to read out a few that we've got coming. These haven't come by tweets, as you will tell by the length of the descriptions of the jobs. I might condense them in future. In the meantime, we have 3. The first one is for ProCam, and they are currently recruiting for a London-based senior bookings coordinator. Here's what you will need. You will need at least 2 years experience in a similar role within the television facilities industry. You will need to be both ambitious, helps, tenacious, helps, with the ability to provide a first-class customer service, have an excellent attention to detail and willingness to go that extra mile in order to succeed. Of course, salary is dependent on experience. If you feel the job is for you, please send your CV and cover letter to Sean@.web@procam.tv. Look, there it is, just there. My ear is going mad. And that's better. So you can see it just there. They're going to come up. That's what you need to send it to. Job number 2. So I just got a load of feedback within my ear, so I'm just unplugging myself. A new company, AQ Broadcast, are looking for a recent graduate to join their engineering team. You'll hear a little bit about AQ Broadcast in a minute. Working on network software and video hardware systems. Ideally, the degree will be related to software development, and the ideal candidate will have some industry experience, perhaps a placement or temporary job. The core part of the role will involve software development using C++ on both Windows and Linux platforms, but providing technical support to our customers will also be a vital part of the position. The role will involve significant travel, so if you like traveling, this could be for you, as much of the work will be carried out at customer sites around the world. They are looking for someone who is flexible, conscientious, customer-focused, and in particular who finds the broadcast industry exciting, as it is at the heart of our business. You need to submit your details to the great Mr. Neil Hutchins at aqbroadcast.com. There it is. If you're interested in that, send Neil an email. Finally, job 3. This is from Trickbox TV. We're looking for a talented broadcast engineer. It's a great job working on lots of exciting projects with over 12 years experience. Trickbox Limited TV is a London-based company, so if you fancy working in London, that's the place for you to go. More information on that you will find at Trickbox TV, but send an email to info@trickboxtv.com. Now, if you do have a role you want to fill, or you are looking for any particular jobs and things, just keep tweets coming into us and we'll make sure we try and get these out for you, either on the show or on the website. So we have come to the end of the first episode of Broadcast Show since IBC. We have one more to go before Christmas. I want to thank our guests, Greg Hirst and Stephen Streater from Forbidden Technologies, Graham and Reed for bearing with us over Skype and talking about ITTP, and of course Selwyn Petterson from Tariam. Our thank yous this month include some new ones as well. The prompting kit has, as ever, been provided by AutoCue, but the studio production system is now being provided by AQ Broadcast. If you don't know, it was announced at IBC that AQ had agreed in principle to buy the workflow product range from AutoCue. And this transition is now in progress with the intention of completing the acquisition by the end of the year. AQ Broadcast will continue to provide the scripting, newsroom, automation, media management, video server and production suite systems, plus support service previously offered by AutoCue, but will also introduce a range of new products shortly. We'll have lots more on future shows about this. We thank them for their help. Thanks, of course, go to Serialite for the lighting, Sound Networks for the DPA cheek mics, Vinton and Neo for the camera support, Unicol for the magnificent monitor stand behind me, and Argosy for all the cabling infrastructure. This show will be online in a few hours. Should you need to recap on anything. If you do, of course, want to get in contact with us, Twitter's the way to do it, at Broadcast Show for the latest news on the next planned 18th of December show. We'll keep you up to date at Broadcast Show on Twitter, and we'll send you out an email where we will be having the Christmas giveaway special. We'll try and do it. If you saw it last year, it was interesting to say the least, but it will happen again this year. Until the great Christmas special Broadcast Show, that's goodbye from me. Goodbye.